What's up guys, welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you want to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
No, that's fine.
I hurriedly shouted. That was more than enough, yes.
And if you guys have had enough, then stop getting in our way. Also, the other demon lords are even worse than that, so try not to fall out of line again, okay?
The earring guy, the first to regain consciousness, rapidly nodded. That advice was for their own good, really. I guess they got cocky enough to think they could take on a demon lord, but good thing they picked me first. If they went to someone else, their punishment would have been a lot harsher than Shien's.
You guys are even stronger than Dad said.
The earring guy muttered.
So Rimuru himself is.
Yeah, he's even better.
I'm getting hungry.
Now all three beheld me with respect. One of them was still acting a little strange, but no point worrying about it. I really didn't want to bother with them any longer, but I felt it prudent to at least look into their backgrounds.
So who pointed you here?
I hoped they would be honest with me. I didn't have to hope for long.
Ah yes, we're the sons of the demon lord Dagrol. I am Dagra, the eldest.
I am Liura, the second oldest. And I'm Chankra, the youngest.
Just as I thought.
You sure you want to be so open with your identities like that?
Sure.
Dagra replied.
Dad actually ordered us to go train under you, the demon lord Rimuru.
We kind of caused a ruckus back home, and he got royally mad. So he kicked us out.
That was refreshingly honest of them. So basically, Dagrol had it up to here with his problem children, so he was forcing them on me. What the hell? It's not like we knew each other that well or anything. Where did he get off? But maybe I could make him owe me a favor now. It's not like we were that stable of a presence yet. I didn't think it wise to make an enemy out of one of the strongest people in the world. Plus, while I didn't want to spend another minute with these guys, I had the perfect drill sergeant in Shien right here. I'd seen her train Gobzo and the others, but she was so mean to those guys, way worse than Hakuro, even, that it had taken me aback a bit. If I left them to her, I figured they'd get sick of it and run away, and if they did, hey, I'd held up my end of the deal. Dagrol would have no right to complain.
Alright, let's have you train under Shien, then.
I gave Shien a glance, knowing she'd probably hate it but hoping she would take this ticking time bomb off my hands. But Shien nodded back at me with an evil grin. Wait a minute, this wasn't what I expected.
I have received my orders from Sir Rimuru. And trust me, I, Shien, can even take a pack of weaklings like you and build you into first-rate warriors. You may follow me with confidence.
I'd hope for nothing else.
Yeah, we're gonna do our best for you, lady. Me too, but can you give me something to eat first?
I was expecting some sass back, but Shien was pretty up for it. Which, okay, if she's cool, I'm cool. I decided to head back to the audience chamber, hearing cries like, "Let us call you our teacher." No, our master, and, "I'll expect all of you to follow my commands to the letter," behind me. I figured I'd just ignore them for now. Back at the chamber, the bovoids and equinoids were now kneeling before me, visibly quivering. The younger fighters were following their leader's example, prostrating themselves as well. The high and mighty attitudes of the past were gone. Now they reminded me of some of the weaker races I saw the previous day.
We were awaiting your return.
Our loyalty shall forever be with you, Sir Rimuru.
I wondered what made them have a change of heart like that. It's certainly a new attitude, coming from them. I climbed up to my throne, reverting to slime form and expecting them to get huffy with me again, but they didn't.
Do you mean it?
Of course, my lord.
Please, use our powers however you like.
I guess this was a sincere change of heart. Judging by how frantic they looked, they really were trying to curry as much favor as possible with me. That little bout just now must have shown them how scary Shien can be. In that case, no need to hold back. I'd have no qualms with taking advantage of these guys. They had been fighting for a century, which was really something I didn't need in my domain, but I suppose that meant they loved combat. Would anyone complain if I just moved their battlefield into the labyrinth?
Well, by the looks of things, you guys have more power than you know what to do with. How about I prepare an arena for you guys to duke it out in?
You're going to forgive them?
A saddened Rigurd asked.
I was thinking I could provide them with their divine punishment for you, Sir Rimuru.
Yeah, I had forgotten, what with all this nonsense going on, but both races had pissed off Rigurd pretty good. But I thought it better to give them a chance and see if they could be useful.
Now, Rigurd. They were just ignorant of us, I think, so why not forgive them just this once? If they try that stuff again, though, go right ahead.
If you say so, sir, I have no complaints. How good for all of you, If Sir Rimuru wasn't such a forgiving lord, you may all have breathed your last just now. If you dare to defy us a second time, all that awaits is your final destruction. Give up your resistance and know your place.
I was glad Rigard got me, at least.
Yeah, you guys are lucky.
Chimed in Xian, who was already back from the arena.
If it wasn't for those unwelcome visitors just now, I would have joined with Rigard to do you all in. Why, for all the unbearable things you said, I would have plucked your tongues out so you could never speak again. So thanks Sir Rimuru for his mercy, and try to show some obedience from now on.
The bovoids and equinoids all nodded, shaking uncontrollably.
We promise we'll live up to your expectations. Please forgive our disrespect.
And given how they were acting, I could believe they wouldn't try it again.
If you swear loyalty to me, I will consider it. First, though, stop your fighting and be quiet until you hear from me.
I didn't need to speak to them directly, but I thought it best to be doubly sure. I wanted to invite the bovoid leader over later under one pretense or another, so I could negotiate with him about working in the labyrinth. Given the unintentional fright we gave them, he ought to be cooperative. Really, the chance at getting such a great boss for my project made all the stress of the day just fly out of my mind. The audiences went smoothly after that. Rumors of Xian taking control of Dagrel's son spread like wildfire, enough to make even the powerful bovoids and equinoids lie low, so nobody was looking down on me now. I was hoping things would end on a high note, but soon after, an elder from the elven race and a few of his men arrived. I say elder, but he looked like a regular young man to me. No women were among them, which was kind of a shame, given how gorgeous lady elves tend to be. Elves, of course, had a reputation for living practically forever. Both they and dwarves were originally spirits brought to physical life, or fallen from higher planes of existence, who became fairies and were eventually granted material bodies. Apparently, you could trace the genealogy of goblins back to the fairies, too. Fairies bearing the earth element eventually became dwarves, those with the water element became merfolk, fire became goblins, and wind became elves. Their ancestors were the results of fairies intermingling with creatures from other races long ago. Apparently, goblins had little in the way of fairy blood left, which made their lives comparatively short. Even ogres, the next evolution up from them, only made it up to 100 or so. When you got to ogre mage level, that re-energized the power from your spiritual ancestors, giving you skills that bordered on the divine. But back to elves. Their lives were said to span between 500 and 800 years. Even elves with human blood mixed in could make it up to almost 300. This could vary a lot though, since the more fairy blood you had in you, the longer you tended to live. Elves grew into maturity around the age of 20, and beyond that, the passage of time simply did nothing to them. Only when on death's door did they suddenly begin to rapidly age, and in about 20 years, infirmity would finally take their lives. Staying young for a few centuries might sound like a dream to most humans. But another trait of theirs was how you never really saw them produce a lot of children. Living such long lives, they didn't have much of a natural inclination to keep their bloodline going. That's why they still numbered relatively few. Bear in mind, of course, that I learned all this from the ladies at the Night Butterfly, a nightclub in the Dwarven Kingdom I was well familiar with, so I couldn't say how much of it was true. By the way, fairies themselves still existed. They were pretty common monsters actually. These were smaller spirits given monster form by the effects of magicules around them. They were about the size of Ramirez and had a reputation as pranksters. They had intelligence, but they couldn't procreate and didn't live long. The personification of a major spirit was a far cry from them, enough so to be classified as a different monster entirely. Ramirez tended to be bunched in with these fairies, but she was actually something different. She was fallen from an upper-level existence known as a spirit queen, which meant she may have been higher up the evolutionary ladder than the ancestors of elves or dwarves. It sounded like she went through an eternal pattern of reincarnation, although it didn't seem like she understood the process herself too much. But I've gotten way off track. I lent an ear to the elder.
It is an honor to lay eyes upon you,
he said with a salute.
We have come here today to celebrate you and offer our heartfelt gratitude.
Normally, this would be the time when they'd offer their loyalty to me. Some of the races, the initial entries into the Federation, even expressed their thanks at their safety being guaranteed. But this was the first time I had ever met this elder. I wasn't sure what he had to thank me for, so I had Rigard ask for me.
Ah, That would be.
As the elder put it, it had to do with the bad blood between the bovoids and equinoids. It turned out the biggest victims of their 100-year war were the elves. According to him, elves, a race that lives off the blessings of the forest, fear the expansion of war zones more than anything else. To protect their hidden enclaves from outside enemies, the elves install barriers that scramble one's sense of direction, but these barriers had fallen with the trees in the midst of the wars. Directional confusion didn't mean much, after all, if the enclaves were in plain sight. They tried to move their settlements, keeping casualties as low as they could, but the war kept growing bigger and bigger. It made the forest's animals and monsters flee for their lives, it raised the local fruits and vegetables before they could be harvested, and some elves even resorted to taking work in the Dwarven Kingdom. I guess that was what the ladies at the Night Butterfly were up to. Over time, the loss of population grew to become a crisis, making it hard to keep the enclaves going. Some of the elves considered making yet another move elsewhere, but as large as the forest of Jura is, it wasn't that easy to find a suitable destination.
Thus,
the elder continued.
We considered appealing to those violent thugs to see if we could reach some kind of agreement. But before we could, my lord, the events of just now transpired. Now all we need is somewhere to move to.
Hopefully, as he said, that would convince the elves who left to come back. This gave me an idea. Some place to move to? Yeah, I got that. Right here in town. There were fewer than 300 elves in the forest. At one point, there was a lot more, enough to build a prosperous kingdom in ancient times, but those glory years were long past. The elves were forced to turn nomadic, spreading to the four corners of the world. But regardless, I knew a place that could fit 300 just fine. Remember that little forest I had just built down in floor 95 of the dungeon? There you go.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to James Yap, Vignesh, Abhishek Dungdung, John Mardi Malaluan, Muhammad Noraiz Ali Khan, God's Retribution, Anshu Mishra, Daniel Oxley, Ascensor Jamir, and last but not the least, shout out to Sean. I'll see you guys in the next video.